Hello guys, welcome to the channel. From today we are going to start our new topic that is supervised learning and our first topic is train test split. Now, what is train test split? Train test split is a technique used in machine learning to divide a dataset into two parts. Training data used to train the model, testing data used to evaluate the model, right? Purpose to check how well your model performs on unseen data. Now, suppose this is my dataset, okay? This is the data set on which I will work. So this is my column. Okay, this is my column row. And suppose I am counting the total rows. Yeah, 1104. If I don't count the columns, then I have 1103 columns. Okay, now what will I do? Now suppose I am building a machine learning model. Okay, so then what I will do, I will divide my data set into two parts, training data and testing data. Suppose I have converted my dataset into divided my dataset into 80% and 20%. 80% for the training data and 20% for the testing data. Now, from 80% of the dataset, I will train the model, and then when the model gets prepared, then I will check its output through the 20% testing data to check whether it is giving the correct output or not. Okay, so that is the concept of train test split. So why do we need train test split? If you train and test on the same data, the model may memorize the data. Obviously, like suppose you train the model by 100% data set. Now you have to check its output, that it is giving correct or not. If you if you check by the same data set from which you have trained the model, obviously it will give the right answer. Okay, so very high accuracy. Obviously, when it will give all the answers right, then it will give a higher accuracy, but it will be misleading. Okay, so obviously, always convert data set into two parts, training data and test data, before building your model. Okay, now suppose basic idea, train learn patterns, train data set for learning patterns, test data for checking performance of the model. Example, suppose I have 100 data points, means 100 rows. I will, I will basically keep my 80 rows for training and 20 rows for testing. Okay, how it works? Shuffle the data set. First, shuffle the data set randomly. Okay, then split it into two parts, training and testing. Train model on training data, basically prepare the model by training the model by training data set, and now when basically model gets prepared, then test the model by testing data, then like it is giving correct output or not, right? So I will show you how we can do train test split using Python. For coding purpose, I will use Jupyter Lab. For using Jupyter Lab, please download Anaconda Navigator. In my system, it is already downloaded. So when you will download it, just search here Anaconda prompt. Anaconda prompt. CD. Give your file location. My file location. Control C. Control V. Enter. Write Jupyter Lab. It will navigate the Jupyter Lab into my browser. I will wait for a few seconds. No, I will choose this. I will rename this. Rename first topic. Train test split. Okay. Now I will import some basic required libraries. With Pandas, SVD. Now I will load my dataset. Data is equal to pt.read slash CSV because I have CSV file. I will give you the dataset. Copy path, control T. Check my data is loaded or not by data.head. It will give you first three rows, data.head 3. Yeah, my data gets loaded. Okay. Suppose first I will check is there any null value or not in any column. No, I don't have any null value. So perfect. Okay. Now, first, basically, first divide your columns into two parts. Divide your input columns and output columns. Means this is my output column. Okay. It column depends on these columns. Okay. Right. So just divide columns into two parts, input and output columns. Okay. Now suppose x is equal to data dot drop means give the whole data set but drop only one column, that is lat. This is the data set for house price prediction. Okay. So this is the column for house price. Okay. So this is your output column. Means these factors will decide how much value your house, how much price the house could have. Okay. Now, so I will take y. Y is equal to give me the give me the only output column, right? I have taken all the columns, input columns into x. Now I will take output column into y. Okay. Now I have divided into two parts. Now I will now divide the data set into two parts, training data and testing data using Scikit-learn's train test split. Now how I can do it from sklearn dot model selection import train test split. Okay. Now when I will convert the data set into two parts, training data and test data, then I will always have four, basically four variables, four total, four total type of variables in which data will contain. First, X train and X test. Okay. Then Y train and Y test. Okay. Now I will X train, X test, Y train, Y test is equal to, now I will call my train test split to co- convert, basically divide my data set into two parts, X comma Y, right? Now test size. Test size means suppose what ratio you want to divide your data set. Now I suppose I want to divide my data set into two parts, 75% and 25%. Now 25% means 25% will be your testing data. Okay. So if you want to take 25% of the dataset for your testing, then write 0.25. If you want to take 20%, then write 0.20. Okay. Now, I will write one more thing. Random variable. Random state. Random state is equal to 42. What it means? Suppose Suppose it divided the data set into two parts, training and testing. It will randomly divide into training and testing. It will not divide like from 0 to 700 rows. It is testing data and rest you have training. No, it will not work like that. It will randomly divide your data set into training data and testing data. Now, suppose I run this line. Okay, now data gets divided. Okay, now data gets divided. Then suppose you open the program again after some time. Then again you basically run this line. Okay. Then if I don't write this random state, it will again change your data set. It will basically again randomly divide your data set into two parts. If you will write random state is equal to 42, then it will be fixed. First time only it will divide your data set into random, then it will keep the data set remaining, it will remain same. Okay, by writing random state is equal to 42. Okay, now suppose I will check x train dot state. Now 827 rules. Okay, now first I will show you data dot set. Okay, from 1103 rows you got 827 for training data. Obviously 14 columns because I have not taken the output column in X. Now it has converted 827 into training data from 1100. Now check X dot save. 276 for testing data, right? Same same for Y also. 827 and one column 276 rows for one column. Okay, y for output basically. Okay, so it has converted our output column 827 for basically training data set, 276 for testing the data set. Okay, for output column, and for input columns 827 for training, 276 for testing. Okay, this is what the concept of train test split. We will always use train test split before building any machine learning model. Okay, in the next video, we will cover linear regression. Okay, that's all in this video. Thank you.